The only thing sillier is the intro to this podcast. Welcome to the Effin' Movie Podcast. I'm your host.
With the finger guns.
Yeah.
My clips are empty. That's how many times I fired. All right.
Yeah. I'm your host, Dylan Camacho. Today we got the gun heavy. I don't got a good transition for that. Mason's here.
The gun-toting
Yeah,
Mason Rector.
yeah, the gun-toting Mason Rector.
Rootin',
you're
tootin',
better at
shootin'.
that. Yeah.
Gun-toting movie picking.
Also, right from the Wild West himself, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
And
You skipped over me again.
gosh darn it, I did it again.
Sitting
Welcome.
right next to him.
First, but always last in my introductions, Price Bell.
Yeah.
Same.
And today we're talking about our favorite lane, 10 Cloverfield, starring John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, fantastic, and the other guy.
Damn it.
Now, normally I know Mason, you love to do the explaining how the movie goes in this film, but I want to do something out of the ordinary and get past it to Nathan this time.
Yeah, that would be
What are you talking about?
That
That
would
does
be
it every
nuts.
time.
No, this never happened.
I know.
I have to try and explain what the movie is about.
Nobody knows what we're doing.
What-
It's
what
so
are we-
scary.
Then I get all kinds of sidetracked, and I really draw it out way too long.
I really like your descriptions because I always wonder. I'm like, what movie did Nathan watch? You know,
Yeah.
This is a testing thing more
right?
than anything.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it for once?
Okay. I mean, I can, but Nathan's already said so. So go ahead.
So he was already started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't wanna cut him
sew
off.
that button.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this movie is kind of hard to figure out what's going on, especially if you've never seen Cloverfield. I feel like Cloverfield probably makes you understand a little bit more of John Goodman's character, but being completely in
agree.
the dark as to what's going on and like what the world
The
is.
last 20 minutes especially go like,
Mhm.
what is going on? if you
The
haven't seen it.
whole
Yeah.
beginning of it, for me, it was this whole feeling of like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. But I mean, I guess if he's in Cloverfield, you know. And
Yeah.
he's still a bad guy, but you know.
Yeah.
So he kidnaps this girl. Is the way it's kind of framed. He kidnaps her, takes her into his secret bunker to survive the Cloverfield situation, which, if you've not seen the first movie, you don't know what that is.
How many of us have not seen Cloverfield?
You too.
Just us two?
Just us two.
Okay.
This
so
is-
this half of the table.
This is like a spinoff that has nothing really to do with Clover.
Totally.
He wasn't in the first one.
Just happens
Yeah.
to be in the same world, no characters relevant to anything like that.
I like that though.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's a great approach.
Yeah. It's really cool and really well done.
Mm-hmm.
It does so much to just create this tension and this like fear. Like you have this mix of fear, but also like that Stockholm kind of
Yeah,
thing going
concern.
on
Right.
with him
Mhm.
the entire time. Where like at moments you're like, I wish she would just not be so fucking mean to him
Yeah.
and like not hit him with bottles because clearly he's a nice guy. And then the next moment you're like, oh no, he's a psycho.
He's definitely a sociopath that's,
Right.
locked them both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know which ones really balance out.
Yeah, so through the course of this story, there's a lot of back and forth of whether or not there's anything even happening. The main character, the girl, she for quite a while doesn't believe there's anything actually wrong and that she has just been kidnapped. And through the course of the story, you find out that he definitely has kidnapped people before the world went crazy. But this time things were genuinely crazy, but he was still crazy in it too.
Mm-hmm.
There's two people there. One, Emmett.
Yeah, Emmett. That's
Yeah.
And it
Emma,
was the
he-
farmhand at some point.
it. Right.
Yeah, so he got in before things went bad.
We can call him.
Force himself in.
Yeah.
Forced
John
himself
Goodman did not
into
want
the
him in
situation. John Goodman didn't want him there, and eventually John Goodman got rid of him.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned way.
Yeah,
very, very dramatically.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this movie is just very, very much in a box
Mm-hmm.
for the vast majority of it.
Very literally in that way.
Yeah, up until it has its moments where you're kind of like seeing the outside and stuff, and like the lady running up and like
Hitting your head
clearly
on
rotting away, and just it has its moments of like the outside world and the horror out there, but it pretty much stays in a box for the majority of it up until the very end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the very end, I guess, kind of shows you what happened in Cloverfield, kind of.
A good chunk of what happened.
Yeah, roughly. So, for those who haven't watched Cloverfield, we're just going to very briefly touch on it. So, it's a movie about this found footage kind of thing, where essentially these people are enjoying New Year's Eve, and a giant monster thing starts rising up and attacking. It just messes up all of New York. A bunch of things come off of it, a bunch of little monsters, kind of scary. So, it's like just this very Godzilla with monster minion things, apocalypse thing happening over in this chunk of area.
Mhm.
It obviously starts going more widespread and start messing up the whole world, and this is way before world domination happens, but this is definitely like, John Goodman's like, alright, shit's happening, I'm going into the bunker, I'm taking you and you with me, sweet. And then it kind of just kicks off from there. Good movie. Mason disagrees, but check it out for yourself to find out, I guess. But
The Cloverfield.
The first
yeah,
one,
the first one.
Original.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, as far as 10 Cloverfield Lane's concerned, that's literally all you need to know, and they give you that part as much anyway. You kind of put together like,
I almost think it's a little bit more of an interesting watch not knowing that.
yeah,
Because it makes the tension so much more interesting that you're not sure that there's anything wrong up
Exactly.
there.
Right.
This could
Like
be
you're in the same shoes as the main character.
Mhm.
Like you think maybe this guy is crazy, and you go back and forth on that so many times, and like for quite a while through the movie I kept thinking like, that girl that came up to the window and was beating her head, was she just like up in makeup? Have they been following what this guy's been doing? Has he been going outside?
Sure,
Like,
maybe sneaking
This
away.
is this like some kind of extra layer of like trying to keep them to stay in there?
Yeah,
Yeah. It plays with your head quite a bit.
it does.
I was with you because I didn't watch it either, and I felt the same way like as her about putting yourself in her shoes because I was with her like, hit him upside the head. You
Yeah.
need to get out of there. This is a crazy person. And then that lady came up because she had got hit by like the alien gas or something like that.
Yeah,
but you and I didn't know that because we've
Yeah.
never seen Cloverfield. And like that would have been enough to like freak me out and be like, all right, I'll do whatever you want to, and just stay in there so you can be safe. Which I don't know, did a good job of that.
Yeah, I think this movie really hits the, like, this is a pretty prime time definition of what you would look at for a psychological thriller. Like, you look at it
For
and it
sure.
hits every single beat it needs to in that way. It gives you, like, a situation where you're totally unsure of how you're supposed to feel, whose side you're supposed to take, and the thriller aspects of it, I think, are perfect, because the tone, like, you don't, I don't know, for me, before ever going to the movie, you sit there and think, oh, I gotta be afraid of John Goodman, but then throughout the whole movie, you're like, John Goodman's a terrifying, like, I don't want to be in a room with just John Goodman. I'll put it that
I
way.
don't want
huge.
that
Yeah.
John Goodman in my room.
Yeah.
I don't want that one.
No.
Give
Yeah.
me the one from like
Roseanne.
Roseanne. Yeah, Roseanne.
Big Lebowski, any of those,
Yeah.
any of those John Goodmans, I'm
Think
like,
of John Goodman, I'm fine with it. Not that one.
But
Yeah.
that one, he's not a good dinner guest. Like,
Yeah.
he looks like he brings a side dish and really makes dinner uncomfortable. But
And they made him a really deep character.
yeah,
throughout the movie.
Super deep.
Yeah.
Whenever he first started talking about like the Russians have this kind of weapons and yada yada, and don't even get me started on if the Martians came because, you know,
Yeah.
he makes the Russians look like yada yada. You know, so
Yeah.
it definitely started with that conspiracy theorist right away. But yeah, I mean, you guys are right. Psychological thriller, puts you in her shoes. She's chained up at the beginning, for God's sakes. Like
Yeah.
that is a red flag immediately. Even if she wasn't chained up and she was locked in that room, I think it still does the same thing. But yeah, the fact that she's chained up and her legs all screwed up, yeah, that's a little crazy.
And they made her not stupid too. You
They
know,
made her super
like,
MacGyver-ish.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
very resourceful in the box for that whole time for thinking, how do I get out? You know, and of course, Emmett exposition, it helps tend to just say, yeah, here's kind of the background story to just give you just enough to be like, maybe he's on this. No, he's kind of a bad guy, and then you're like, oh, no,
He's kind of a good guy, but he's
kind of-
weird. Yeah.
He's a bad guy with the right intentions. Essentially, is what we're landing on by the time it's all said and done. God, I would say the two scenes that really stick out for like the period of this film, though, just the first dinner scene where they just been making all like the gas masks and stuff like that, and like there's so much of does he know? Does he not know? Like, oh
Yeah.
shit! Like I think that part.
You mean the scene where they're like
they're playing
They're
cards.
playing cards. Yeah, they're on the dinner
the
table.
whole thing where it's like
I
I
see
see
you.
you.
I see you when
I-
you sleep.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And he's
Right.
like really being really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Emmett has the worst
Yeah, like,
poker
he
face
thinks
I've ever
it- yeah.
seen in my life.
Yeah.
Well, that whole scene has a lot going on with it, with like the whole thing where Emmett's trying to get him to guess Little Women,
Mhm.
and he like
Oh,
just
that was
keeps
so
saying,
cringy.
Mhm.
just,
Oh,
like,
that was
little,
awful.
Little princess, little. Cause,
Yeah.
He only sees her as a little girl rather than a woman.
Yeah.
because he only wants to see her as a little girl because it reminds him of that girl he already kidnapped and killed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously that other scene where like the whole fire breaks out and all that stuff. Obviously,
Oh yeah, right as like the escalating point hits.
Yeah.
There are some moments where this is just peak thriller. Like
yeah.
I love the moments where they just sit you in a room and it's just people. And I think that's a great sign of a good movie where you don't have to create. Where Cloverfield, sure, it does have monsters and all that, and that's beside the point. But that's not the focus of the movie, though. Where you can just put John Goodman, a regular dude, in the room, and you make him the most terrifying thing, and you feel like I felt more like uncomfortable and like I was just like terrified of John Goodman than I did with a lot of like Michael or Jason or any of like the typical slashers and stuff
Well,
like
it's
that.
like he is so much tension and uncertainty
Right.
because you don't know what's going to set him off.
Mm-hmm.
Like a monster is just a straight up easy to understand situation.
you're not getting out. You got to fight
Yeah.
that monster. This guy,
Yeah.
you might be able to handle. Like,
Yeah.
you might be able to live with. You don't
Yeah,
really
but you
know.
also at the same time, you just like you never know at what point something's going to
make him snap.
tip him over.
Like that one guy just joking, trying to have fun at, dinner, and then he was just like, "Shut your fucking mouth! Like, I want peace."
And then the girl's just antagonizing her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
can you not? Like,
Yeah,
I
and then
wasn't
reached over and,
what her angle was there. I mean, I guess it was to take the keys, but that was a weird angle.
It was a
try and
Yeah.
take for
You
that.
couldn't take him any other way. You just had
Yeah,
to
like that's what you had to
provoke him.
Right.
I guess, it got him so emotionally charged that, like, he wasn't even aware that she was taking
Yeah.
his keys.
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
So, I guess that was the only other option. I don't know how else you would provoke that kind of reaction from him.
Because he is definitely one of those hyper-vigilant characters who's just so
Oh, yeah.
paranoid throughout the roof. Like
He's gonna know where everything is all the time.
Right.
So maybe you.
He was
get
always,
out of
and he was
development.
fidgeting with his keys all the time. Right after she took them, when he had no idea, when he sat
Yeah.
back at the table, he
just immediately
fidgeted.
went to touch
Yeah.
his keys. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when he noticed. He noticed it like immediately, and then
Mhm.
she took off and had that whole scene.
Yeah.
And what another thing I really liked is that like they kind of set up everything in the movie to do something like the survival book that they got to do the gas mask or whatever. Like that was panned over multiple times and how
Yep.
they knew it was there. And then the one I really liked was the story of when John Goodman was telling the main character about how they would like use the sprayed air thing to like
Yeah.
get the like knock the lock
to
off
break the knob
Yeah.
off of the
Just
bathroom
get your vodka
door.
on ice,
Yeah,
basically.
and then
Yeah.
she remembered that and did that to escape from the shelter.
Yeah, this movie does what Price loves in that it gives you everything because he doesn't want to sit there and ever have to figure out why a character is smarter than him in the film. No, but to that
Well,
point
it's
though.
the show not tell thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're paying attention to the film, you can see. Oh, I see how she got there.
Which is
Like,
why I like that so much. Which is
Right.
why when we were talking about Silent Hill, I was like, I don't like it when they just throw it all in your face, very ham-fisted.
exposition dump.
Yeah,
Boosh.
in this one,
Yeah.
like you find out stuff about each character throughout the movie. The only thing I guess would say kind of come close to an exposition dump, I guess, would kind of be that conversation that Emmett and the main character have when he's like, I had an opportunity to go to track at this place and
Yeah.
I never got the ticket. But that was more of like a
I feel
bonding
like
moment between the
that's
two
different.
characters.
I feel like this
Yeah.
movie keeps your knowledge of the situation on par with the main character.
Agreed,
Right.
which is good, especially for us,
Yeah.
because we didn't know anything about Cloverfield
Yeah.
was going on. They kind of had like, okay, like that lady running up, I know why she's doing that, and you and me were like, maybe the air is poison for some reason. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, maybe she's got something else wrong with it that has nothing to do with this. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
I think my favorite bit of character development was when we figured out that Emmett really enjoys living, and that whenever he was dead, there was no more Emmett, and I was like, wow, that's good character development. But
Was that before or after you saw him like sizzling and the stuff?
before.
Oh,
So-
that little panning
Oh,
shot
yeah.
where it was just like him right there.
There's like chunks of him just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Good
Just
grief.
in a
Yeah.
tub of goo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we do need to talk about that scene in
That,
particular. Like, yeah, where John Goodman's got them two right there, and it's like the most like intimidating because he has such like a physical presence
Yeah.
on camera, like just because he's huge, and then
they
like
maximize the
Is it-
screen with John Goodman on.
definitely,
That.
and but because it shows because it's a small confined space. He's a very big man, and I mean
Yeah.
they're just two normal kind of size looking people, and when he's like intimidating them, like. I'm going to hurt one of you in one way. And then Emmett's like, I want to take the fall for this.
Mhm.
And then he's like, okay, I accept your apology. And then just shoots him in the head. But then he immediately like sheds his anger and like is not angry anymore and is like comforting,
yeah, trying to
comforting the girl.
her.
And he's like, this is how it was supposed to be all along. Now we can like be alone and it's going to be okay. You don't need to see this part. It's not like little girls like you shouldn't see
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then like he shoves her back and then one of my favorite moments in the movie was when right after that was when he came into the room and like had his hair fixed, his like he was shaved and everything. I was like, that scares me more.
Tucked in,
That scares me more than anything.
And then
because
he also gave her ice cream. Like it was, everything was totally.
Yeah, and he was like, "I put yours in a bowl because I knew like Megan liked it like not in a bowl." Like everything's screaming red flags. And luckily the girl like she's smart. Like she's not even like smart. She's just like she's resourceful and knows what's going on in the situation. And she's like, I need to get out of here ASAP. And she devises her plan. Well, I guess she kind of had to speed it up a little bit because that's when John Goodman did find the gas.
Let's talk about that shower curtain. That shower curtain was choice.
Agreed. That duck.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes. That was awesome. That was the one bright thing besides like the game of life down there in that bunker.
That montage where it showed them all getting along. And
it did such a good job of like kind of taking you along to be like, oh, everything could be okay, and like
they might have been here for months.
Maybe
Trailer drop.
It's not a freaking monster, you know. Like it takes you on a ride. And like I said, I feel like the whole time it does a very good job of keeping your knowledge level at the main character's level and keeping your mindset following along with her too.
Agreed.
Because like after you see the lady coming up to the window and like beating her head and stuff, and she has that moment where she's like having to fix John Goodman's head by stitching him up and everything, like you feel bad for John Goodman the way that she probably felt bad for what she had done because she didn't realize how bad things were. And being people that have been in Cloverfield, you also are just like, oh, so there's really something wrong.
There's actually something.
I'm a mime. Mason's in a box. This is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Don't touch my box.
And we're back. So anyway, we were kind of on the pros and cons part a little bit. Definitely a lot more pros on the field than anything, but
I can immediately say a con.
Yeah, I guess. What are some of the cons on here? Mason, why don't you lead us off?
Nope. You're not doing that number. No, the last 10, 15 minutes or something, I did not like.
Really?
I just wish, I told Mason earlier, I was like, I wish it just would have been 10 Shive Lane or something. Like, it didn't need to be Cloverfield. Cloverfield was not necessary. That whole ending section was so over the top and ridiculous.
Oh, you mean
I did not like it. After she gets out. Oh, 100%.
After she broke out.
After she broke out and then the aliens start coming out and she throws a Molotov.
You didn't watch the end?
No.
Wait.
No, I did.
Okay.
I did. I thought you were gonna mean just the part when she was driving and like heard the radio.
Turn left versus going
No.
straight.
And she becomes the rebel hero America.
No, she throws a Molotov cocktail down an alien god's throat.
Yep.
And I just...
Well, not an alien.
I didn't
I mean, I
need
don't know
that.
if he's worshipy worthy, but he's definitely a pretty big guy.
That was so unnecessary. Like, I didn't like that section. It even kind of dumbed her down a bit because, like, up until then, I was like, I see why she's doing that. I know why she's doing that. But then she gets in that shed, completely safe at that point, and there's the monster outside, has no idea she's there, and then she just starts falling around and scrounging
She's
for
getting
keys
so
and stuff.
panicky.
Exactly. Just make yourself as small
At
as
this
possible.
point, this is the first time that she's actually seen literally.
Right.
Then why wouldn't you get in the fetal position and be as small as
Because
possible?
that's how you die. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, well, I'll just cower to this giant thing. Like, whew,
Yeah.
finally got away from John Goodman.
Yeah.
Time to
He's
throw
the
it all
only
away.
one so
Right.
far.
I mean, I guess you could make the case too that like whatever that is, who's to say it's gonna just stop? Like it knows there's a reason something just happened.
Yeah.
Like it's coming
smarter
to investigate.
intelligence.
It's gonna continue investigating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Assuming
like she's getting away.
I-
I do think the panicky stuff always annoys me because
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe I just don't understand being panicky, but
Nathan's
I just
just a
can't
chill guy.
imagine. I can't imagine being so panicked that you're gonna make those kind of mistakes where you make a bunch of noise whenever you're trying to hide.
Yeah,
That just doesn't seem like a thing that people do.
Right.
It's a thing that they do in movies all the time, though.
sure.
So I guess
in
it's just a
any
classic
horror
movie trope.
Yeah.
That's just what happens.
I kind of do think that the last 20 minutes of action horror, if you will, does kind of... Abrams is the person. I don't remember if he directly directed it or if he was just the produced on it. He had a lot of influence on this as a whole thing, but you can kind of tell that he's always been a person who just loves to put acknowledge the trope for what it is. And this kind of seemed like that scene in itself where he kind of just says, "Sure, we're just gonna ramp it all the way off to 11." And like, I think even as you're watching the film, you can kind of see this is the part where people are either gonna be like, "Yeah, I hated that film because it went off the rail in the last 20 minutes," and that just ruins the whole experience for them because they're like, "Oh, I had this start to finish great psychological thriller, and then I had 10 to 20 minutes of a horror or action like mess.
He's speaking what I'm thinking.
Right. So, and this is kind of where I think the difference between watching Cloverfield and kind of seeing, oh, this is how they connect it. Do I think it's executed the best way? Not necessarily, but for me, like, this is the home where it's like, you've been watching this whole film because it has a Cloverfield title in it. Here it is.
Here it is.
Here's your thing. This is for you, buddy. This is the payoff.
But I don't like that. Like the last couple movies that we've done, you all are like, if you've played Silent Hill, you'll like it so much more. If you watch the first Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, you'll see all the homages to it and stuff. Like, I'm not watching those. I'm not doing all that extra work. I'm watching this movie, and I want to judge this movie based on this movie.
True.
And because, again, one of my favorite movies that we've watched prior is Kung Fu Panda 2, and even if you have not seen the first one, you're totally fine. Like, it's a self-contained story that does everything that it wants to do. Like, and all these other ones, like if
But-
you've seen this, it makes more sense. Like, it's
Going
still its own
into
movie.
this movie, I know you guys haven't seen it, but do you know what Cloverfield is?
yeah.
The first one.
He just said it about 20 minutes ago.
Like that's about all I know is what he said.
Did you know that it was alien based?
No.
Yes.
Really? You
Oh.
didn't know that?
No.
All right.
So, yeah.
So I'm with you. It's just the fact that like the reason why this movie got such popularity and such promo was because A, John Goodman, and B, Cloverfield.
Mhm.
Maybe not in that order, either which way.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. It was the last 12 minutes was just this chaotic floating ships that were touched on many times in the movie.
Right.
Artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it, the Martians. It was touched on, it was touched on, it was touched on. I think if they don't bring that in somehow, it's a total wash. Because at that point, there's a movie called like Stockholm that just came out a couple of years ago, and that's literally all it was until she started battling with that.
That sounds
alien.
great.
Yeah.
I want to see that movie.
You should. I think it's got like Teresa Palmer or something. Anyways,
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
but I think this tiny chunk. That's the reason why I said you guys didn't need to watch the first Cloverfield, nor do you need to watch
I still agree with you on that.
Paradox.
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 Yeah,
don't watch that one
movie.
either.
That one's
How's
bad.
that one bad?
That one's just outright bad.
I've heard
Those
Universal
two
it's
are
terrible.
plenty far off the spectrum. You don't need to watch them, in my opinion.
I agree.
But this one is. I was telling Price earlier. So this is, I think the writers for all of the Cloverfield movies were all over the grid, but they somehow made a beautiful movie with this one, and it was because they only added this much into it, and they might not even have had that much into it until they were like, wait a minute guys, it's Cloverfield, we gotta add something.
Shit, forgot. Like,
Yeah.
you could tell this entirely could have been a pre-written just thriller. Like, the guy from Phone Booth was like, I want to make a psychological thriller, and then he wrote with some other guys, and they just put it together, and
Yeah.
they made like the extended
I
version.
would like that.
They gave him a whole basement this time. But so I'm torn because I think if I'm coming in from your guys' perspective, I definitely see the point where, at least from Price's side, that you can be like, I hated how it just went on from here to here because it has this straight, strict tone, human drama, and then that's it, and then it's like fucking aliens, like dang it.
And a lot of them.
Right, but for me, like, not only was that thing the part, I think for me, I like the payoff on it because it gives you that very validating thing where this wasn't going to be a movie. The typical psychological thriller that always keeps you guessing. Like, yeah, John Goodman kind of falls apart to be a monster at the end, partly because of the circumstances. And yeah, he's kind of off the hinges, but again, he gets there as a character, which is great.
Yes. Yeah.
On the flip side, they're like, all right, well, I guess we'll always be guessing if he was always just a crazy bad guy in the internet. And it's like, nope, monsters. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
let's
like,
drop them in.
oh, okay. John Goodman is just all right. So he's still
I
kind
think
of
it's
crazy.
pretty clear John Goodman was like a complete and utter
Right.
psychopath.
Nutcase.
Yeah, that's never left off completely, but I do think it's just very solidifying. Where another reason I can already tell Price hates this is because it just drills home. It's just like, it's so in your face, it's so obnoxious. Like, they just drop it in there.
She
and
throws a Molotov cocktail down an alien's throat.
I'm fine with that because I'm just like, all right, let's do it.
I had no problem with it.
yeah,
I've been with her the whole movie. I wanted her
Yeah.
to
Y'all
bust
are
that
crazy.
bottle. I wanted her to tip that freaking barrel of hydrofluoric acid over. I wanted her to do all these things.
John Goodman just whoa.
I did want her to take something a little bit more sturdy than the aerosol can to that lock.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I was fine with every single decision she had.
yeah. I see. It's the exact flip for Price on my side of it. Like, I came into Cloverfield because I knew it had the Cloverfield title, so part of me was always waiting for like fucking alien monster horror movie, and like I got a great psychological thriller.
the wrong movie.
You're right.
I think this is the right one.
I'm like, I mean, this is really good still, but there's no evil aliens or anything like that. There they are! Like, the total opposite reaction is just like, I got that piece, so that's sweet. I do think that, like, the end where it's just like, come help us, and turns on the radio and she drives off. That's a touch corny. I'll give it that. Like
That is the typical Cloverfield like way though, and that's fine by them.
Right.
I'm glad the credits rolled as soon as it happened because I don't want to know any more about that story.
yeah.
I'm fine with it. She can be a badass.
I feel like that's generally the leaving the door open for a sequel kind of situation.
Always.
Cloverfield has been like that across all of their movies though, and that like they just make sequels that aren't sequels per se. Like they're like you never really get the found footage sequel where they're following a monster or anything like that. I don't think we're gonna get another psychological thriller where we see Mary Elizabeth Winstead being like fucking Rambo in the fields or anything like that.
I don't need it.
And the space one, that one wraps up in a way where you're not going to get a sequel with those characters to begin with. I think there's like one or two characters that get out like okay, but it's terrible. Last like 5 or 10 minutes. Again, Cloverfield like mindset 101. If you want to get like the core juxtaposition and exposition parts, tune in for the last tiny little bit of it, and that's kind of how their storytelling is. It's like you'll get a lot of the stuff right there. Not in the dump. You'll get pieces along the way, but it all connects at the end. The same way where it's like you knew that there was something more, and then they're like, here's monsters in 10 Cloverfield Lane. Like, okay, there they are. Molotov.
Molotov.
Yeah, Mazel tov. She's Jewish now. So, I think we kind of hit the pros and cons pretty well, and I think that we can probably glide really quickly through the fit and perfectly fit category on this one, but I'll kind of just introduce it because it is part of the segments. Welcome to the part of the show where we sit here and say, where does this movie land with us as far as runtime, stuff like that? This is fit, fat, or perfectly fit. Let me flip it around. Fat, thin, perfectly fit. There we go.
Got it.
So pretty easy, self-explanatory stuff. If it's fat, it runs a little bit too long, whatever. You probably have issues, you'd cut it. Thin, a little light, maybe you wanted more from it. Perfectly fit, runtime matches exactly what you got. Never felt like it overstayed its welcome. Price, why don't you start us out? What's the shape of this movie?
You already know what I'm gonna say. I mean, it's fat, of
A little
course.
bit fat towards
Just
the end.
and it's only because
Because it's 10 minutes of fat and it's Molotovs and aliens. And
yeah,
that's where-
and that's it. Once she gets out of the hatch, that's all I wanted. I wanted like that's all like that arc needed. That's all was needed to tell its story. But then it's just like, oh yeah, we forgot we're kind of Cloverfield, so we
Yeah.
got to throw on this
Me
extra
and
nonsense.
Mason, on the other hand, were like, hey, our 10 minutes are here.
Yeah, and I just wish it would have stayed contained inside that building and then been done outside of that.
Mhm.
And so that's the only part. Everything else within the compound, I very much enjoyed. Very, very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. Nathan?
I mean, I get that you could cut that. I kind of enjoyed it. I've not even seen Cloverfield. I know nothing about Cloverfield, but I thought that was cool. I might go watch Cloverfield.
Yeah.
See that little piece there at the end, you
I've
know?
got it if you want it.
So I mean, I think it's pretty fit. I don't feel like you need that. I don't feel like you need maybe that extra 5 minutes where she's like driving down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it would have
let
been
her-
cheesy had they ended it like this, but they could have ended it on the close-up of the mailbox saying 10 Cloverfield Lane
Yep.
as she
Black
drove
screen
it over.
right through.
100%. That could have been an ending. You're right.
That could have been the
Yeah.
end, and I would have been completely fine with that. Yeah.
But instead, she was switching through the AM stations, trying to be a hero
Yeah.
versus not being a hero.
Go this way to be a pansy. Go this way to be a
We
bad.
all know we would have gone straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Absolutely.
Nope.
Not doing with that.
Whenever I hear that Florida has a gator invasion, I don't think, let's go to Florida, you know?
Let me go wrestle some gator.
When there's a tornado coming through, I don't think, let's go chase the storm. Like,
About 20 to 30 wild hogs.
I mean,
For
feral
dot,
hogs.
feral hogs, going to the hog.
Always.
Every black dot on this map is a feral. They've taken the ocean over. Mason.
So I'm gonna say this movie is fairly fit. I can't really.
This movie runs, but
it runs, but this is I don't know, maybe a little bit bloated. I don't think there's many times where you can cut anything off, just because like at the end, like you said, the Cloverfield aspect. It's so hard to sit there and make a movie that is in like a bottle episode. It's like Grace, she got out of the hatch. She doesn't know where the fuck she is. I mean, it's Louisiana.
cares?
Louisiana, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
could be Oklahoma by how you look at it. You're
Yeah,
like,
you don't really know. They could have.
I'm in Smallville looking at what I'm seeing, farmhouse.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I think you don't necessarily need aliens, but
but I'm glad that they were.
but that definitely just turned the notch up. I will say the first time I watched this movie, it was not because I was such a fan of Cloverfield, obviously. It was because of the cast. I
Mhm.
think I can give so much credit to any movie, kind of like Buried with Ryan Reynolds. It's
yeah.
only him. Any tiny cast like that, and to make it work is very impressive. That's why I watched it. And then at the end, man, I was just smiling. I was like, they fucking did it. They really did it. They put that extra little bit in there. Who am I to judge them? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say it's very fit. Maybe a little bit here and there. Maybe some of the montages. The problem that I had, you never knew how much time went by. But I guess that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know. Maybe they were in there for 2 months. Maybe they were in there for 6 weeks. Less than that. I don't know.
Emmett said that at the beginning of the movie. She asked, like, how long have you been here? And he said,
Maybe
I have no idea.
days. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think that only adds to its strength in that it keeps you in the same mindset as the characters. Like the characters couldn't tell you, so then you probably don't know either as a
Exactly.
spectator on that one. So I call that a buff in that one. This movie's perfectly fit for me, y'all. Like I got that last 10 minutes is like that's the part I came in, to compare it to Mason. Like I came in because it was a Cloverfield title, and I love the cast coming in, so I had pretty high hopes for it, and it paid off. It gave me all what I wanted to it, and then it gave me the other part that I actually wanted on it too. I do think the tone changes so rapidly that I'm not surprised that Price has turned off to it, and maybe others as well. That's a big thing where people have said, that felt tacked on. It's like, here's a great movie, and then here's the last 40 minutes of Interstellar is usually kind of how people would describe it.
Yeah.
Which after like 9 times watching it, you'll just get used to it. But
Didn't she say at one point, like, you gotta be fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
After she got into that shed or
it was very
something?
meta where she even had a moment where she was just like, oh, like,
Yeah, she got into the truck and she was like up on the top or something, and then she saw that thing coming at her. She was like, oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It landed for me. I liked
Yeah.
it. It wasn't like jarring in a way that I didn't want it to be. Like I was just like, all right, now we're in this movie now. Yeah, let's do it.
and then you check the bar to see how much time is left, and you're like, that's enough.
Yep.
I can live this through.
Like you can tell they're like, cool. We really liked what you did with Cloverfield. Now make that with 1/10 of the budget. Go.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like that was a challenge. He's like, all right, I got this. Let me get John Goodman. That's 50%.
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth
They him
Winstead.
handsomely.
That's the other 30%. And then we're going to get about 10% of that BCG, and we're good to go. The other 10% is Molotov cocktails. Live Molotov cocktails.
That was a live one.
Yeah.
We would like to think.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of our whole views on the shapes and stuff like that. We want to go into closing thoughts, thinking, all that stuff on that.
I guess I'd just go ahead and kind of give my score on it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'm good, Jay.
I'd give it a 9. I really, really liked it. And talking about the whole time thing, just as a little aside, did y'all notice that there was a window in the kitchen?
No.
Yeah.
Was it like
Huh.
a skylight or something?
I don't know what the deal was with the window,
Hmm.
but I like the idea in like an underground situation like that you would like have fake windows and like have it to where light turns on and off
right.
the fake window, so
Okay,
you
yeah.
feel like
It feels like days are passing
night
by.
cycles. Anyway, that's a total aside. This movie's a 9. Great movie. I'll probably watch Cloverfield. I never wanted to watch it because of it being shaky cam found footage stuff from what I've heard.
In
And
theaters,
I don't
it
feel
got
like
me
that
motion
was
sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a big fan of that idea, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a go.
It landed a lot better on home video. I'll
Yeah.
say that much anyway. But Price.
I was wanting to give it a 9 as well. I was really wanting to, but I mean, those
Watch
last...
how 10 minutes takes the score down.
It does. And also, I'm still going to go to an 8. It's not going to take it down that much, but I mean, I still love them. I still really like the movie.
Just waiting for the 1 out of 10.
What I would like to do right now is ask Price what the perfect ending would be minus the aliens.
I already said, just like she gets out of the hatch and she kind of looks around. Maybe she sees a ship like overhead, like in the distance, and you're like, I don't really know what that is, or something like that. And then you're like,
Like a
I know what
like
it
a
is.
District
I know what
9
it is.
kinda
It's Cloverfield.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
Cloverfield. And then like us two has been like, I don't know what that is, and then
Yeah.
that would have been it.
Okay.
And
And then maybe
that's
her
how I
moving
would've
through the
liked it.
cornfield in that car or whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Yeah.
and that's it.
That'd be fine with me because that arc is concluded. That's
Sure.
all it needs.
I gotcha.
It does not need aliens as much as you like to say.
On the other hand, we're just bringing Terminators into it now.
You just hear Doom music.
Yeah. I'm going to land with Press on this one. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. I think it lands just short of an 8.5 for me in that. What did I want more out of this? I came into it honestly, and I'm on the other side of it. I kind of wanted more alien horror stuff on it, like, and that's because that's
Maybe
that's,
an extra 15 minutes.
yeah, extra
on
50.
top of
If I
what
could
they
get
were.
cut footage of their like.
yeah, you can take Price's
Right. Give me his serving,
Yeah.
put it on my plate, and I make this just a fat movie by his standards. I'm like, good for me. No,
Dylan's eating dessert.
Right.
Price is just like this.
if this is a buffet, I'm going back for seconds. So, no, yeah, this movie for me, like, I went in for it for the Cloverfield title, and I love it for the cast, and and again, it's very concise in itself for that one part. But I'm like, but get to the Cloverfielding at this point, and by the time I got to it, it was great. On the rewatch, I definitely appreciate just living in essentially the first movie in itself, and just kind of accepting it for what it is. And I was like, oh yeah, still this part's great. All the acting's stellar, the tension's perfect, all of that. And then it goes into that part. But then, like, as it went to the alien part, I always remember thinking, like, man, I want more alien part. Like, and, which is totally contrast to a lot of what other people want. But I come in for a Cloverfield movie, and I got 10 minutes of Cloverfield and 90 minutes of a psychological thriller featuring John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's all about expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it lands at an 8, and it definitely, like, as a movie, if I was going to be just a critic and take all my feelings aside from it, be a robot, it goes higher. But I wanted more aliens. Call me Brain Dead America. Whatever. I wanted more action and Molotovs than aliens.
You didn't like Foxcatcher, so I get it.
Yeah.
Told you I was gonna bring that up.
There it is.
Must have been my low IQ that didn't get Foxcatcher. Mason, what are your feelings
Yeah.
on the superior movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane?
This movie is an 8.5 for me. Pretty darn solid. That minus 1.5 to get to a 10. I can't really tell you much more. I can only think of other movies that did this really well, with like Room or The Room with Brie Larson, which, by the way, Mary Elizabeth Winstead could have done this.
Oh, she would have crushed it.
Could have been The Room girl.
Room. Know that.
Know that.
Whoops.
It's Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
I went to
the Room is a little different.
Totally different.
I went to watch Room. My little brother Jackson recommended it to me to watch Room, and I typed in The Room and got a totally different movie.
I'm so sorry.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah. I've seen that movie like 2 or 3 times now. I
What
love
a
it.
surprise.
Yeah.
Wait, so was that your first time you accidentally watched
I accidentally watched it. I was trying to watch that
great.
movie.
The
I
only
still
way
have
I've
not
ever
watched
watched
Room.
it.
I think
Still haven't.
I'm still not convinced that Room isn't actually like a secret propaganda to get The Room to be watched more often, but for this exact reason.
They
It
wouldn't
worked.
do that.
Yeah.
They would.
Brie Larson would not take her career for that.
Yeah.
She didn't
Sorry,
an Oscar
Mason,
for that.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're
Yeah,
good. Yeah, but it's at 8.5. I don't know what more it could have been with it being such a bottle movie, and like I said, the cast, how small it was. I think they blew it out of the water. But at the end of the day, you might want a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. I don't know. It's always been one of my favorite movies, and like I said, going into it, I thought it was going to be Cloverfield. It completely outshot that expectation. So that's probably where I landed so high with it.
Yeah.
But
Fair. So before we go into covering what we want the next movie to be for the following week is, we're going to go ahead and do the Spooky Movie Month wrap-up, where we look at all of our spooky movies. Well, I mean, it's somewhat spooky.
spooky-ish.
Yeah, spooky in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to say, hey, what's our favorite? So listing off, we had...
Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Killing.
Right. Silent Hill. And, of course, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Mason, we'll go around the world this way.
I won't vote for mine.
He's
Yeah,
gonna
you
be,
can.
He's going to be stubborn not wanting to pick.
Exactly.
You definitely can pick your own.
I'm not gonna pick my own. I will pick.
goodness.
I will pick Silent Hill because it was the first time I'd seen it. It did pretty well. A little bit too much lore, from not playing a video game that I obviously hadn't played. But yeah, that's probably my pick.
As much as I love 10 Cloverfield Lane, it's a very, very close second, and only by a razor-thin margin that I'll give it to Silent Hill. And again, watch our movie review why I gush and love that movie as much as I do.
You'll hear him talk about it.
Yeah.
I promise.
I don't have to elaborate on that. You can always go check out that video. I love it because I do. Price.
And unfortunately, since it's spooky season, I guess I would have no problem doing 10 Cloverfield Lane, but when I think like spooky season, as we were talking about before this, is like I'm thinking of like more like monsters, like straight scary or
Did
something
you not
like
watch the
that.
last 12 minutes?
Right?
I can't. And unfortunately,
What do
don't
you
know.
want? Do you want the monsters? Do you not want the monsters?
I can't give it to that one for spooky season. So I'm gonna give it to Thanksgiving. I'm very much alone in that category. It's fine. It's fine. I love
want
it.
you
want
to
to
know.
give it to a real spooky horror movie.
Yeah.
Thanks, Killing.
Thanksgiving was my pick.
Yeah.
Oh.
I am.
Well, I will say that I do agree with Price that 10 Cloverfield Lane, John Goodman, he's quite the monster, but he's not
Not the
a
monster.
spooky
yeah.
monster.
Yeah.
So for that reason,
He's not like a bunch of
would-
tooth fairies that are running around stabbing people.
That's
that
true.
reason- Yeah. For that reason, I can't give it a 10 Cloverfield Lane as much as I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is ultimately gonna be Silent Hill for me too. I mean, it's a good, like, classic horror kind of movie.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought mine was pretty good too.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. But
Crimson Peak 2.0.
yeah, basically
4.5.
another take on Crimson Peak.
Right.
They're gonna talk about my movie.
No.
We spent enough time in this podcast
yeah.
talking about your
Yeah,
movie.
we've talked about your
We've
movie.
talked about it. You can go watch the episode. It's there. That's it.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's coming around. It's you can watch it.
Yeah, don't worry. Franz will
when,
keep-
when it makes sense.
He'll make more references towards Thanksgiving. We got a whole month of references coming up because
We
of it. Unfortunately.
But yeah, for Spooky Month, this was an interesting
Definitely interesting
selection
crop of
we
it.
had
Yeah.
for.
I like this though.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, do you guys remember me saying last week, I don't know if this actually qualifies as
Yeah.
a spooky movie?
And it doesn't, which is why we figured that
Okay,
out right now.
I just wanted to make sure that you guys heard me,
Yeah.
and I was a little bit on the fence on it, but I do
Right.
think as a thriller, it can
Yeah.
also be spooky.
Thrillers always count, and I've always said that. Honestly, thrillers are usually my favorites on that one anyway.
Mhm.
To me, thrillers are not the same as horror.
It's,
No,
Thrillers
they're
and
not the same
horror
as horror.
can.
it's different execution, but it's this. I mean, again, it's
Horror is blood.
Right.
That's what I think of horror. You're gonna have guts spewing
I think
everywhere.
horror is like monsters.
right. So here's my
Yeah.
here's my biggest argument with this. Then
Horror
is
is
Jurassic
the
Park a
unknown.
horror movie?
They're not monsters, they're dinosaurs.
Dinosaur monsters.
I don't agree.
I think that's a thriller.
It's a total thriller, but if we're looking for blood, we're looking for big, giant,
You're
foreign
looking for
things killing
Saw.
people. We're
I
killing.
think-
You
I don't
know,
know.
I wouldn't be against somebody arguing that it's a horror.
I put it in that
I mean, it
category
is
if I'm being
monsters. It's the fear of the unknown and things like that. Like that to me is what horror is about.
Right.
And thrillers aren't always there. Like this
I would
movie, up until the alien showed up, was not horror.
No, it was
No.
total
It
thriller.
was
Total
horror adjacent. It was in a bottle sitting right next to a sea of horror, but you were inside of the bottle.
Yep, yep.
I think
That's
there's
a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's a deep conversation that's definitely for a whole different video or something like that, the spectrum of horror. And I think that thrillers on it, some people would argue that it's just outside of the horror spectrum because it's tonally similar, but it's also doesn't bring you the things that you typically expect from horror. But I honestly think that thriller is the part that one of the few subgenres that really brings horror up in quality because
Oh yeah.
you
You have
take
to
the
have-
thrillers out and
Here-
there's a lot of bad horrors in there. So
Well, paired together, horror and
Yeah, horror, thriller.
is
Have
Really,
to be.
that's
it's it's a combo with it. But that's a discussion for another time anyway. Well, maybe we'll do a whole separate video where we
Price, will you please tell us what next week's movie is? I don't want to hear it. I know what you're going to say.
Why?
Because I tried to watch this movie a couple months ago, and it's so bad.
Not enough high IQ. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
But I'm picking Monty Python and the Pursuit of the Holy Grail. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
The Holy
Something
Grail.
I
like
think
that.
it's just Monty Python.
just Python and the Holy Grail.
Real
Yeah.
quick,
Okay.
have you seen it?
No, I already asked
You've
them.
seen it.
Yes, I've
Okay.
seen it.
I knew
Oh,
that
you
you
didn't.
had.
Hadn't seen it.
Oh, I own it.
Yeah, because
thought
the
you
people
had
who've
seen
seen
it,
it
I
love
wasn't
it.
sure.
I've seen like a
Uh,
handful of scenes as you do with
I mean,
a
I
movie that's
remember
that classic.
liking
But
it back then. I'll be interested to see how it holds up.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, that's
it is?
good.
Oh, easy.
Easy.
That's healthy.
That's how I tried to watch it.
All right.
But anyway, that's our show. You can catch us over all at the F Movie Podcast where you're at right now. Make sure to hit that little bell button right there. That's a notification. Whenever we actually do put up a video, you will be the first to know. Make sure to subscribe, like the video if you thought this content was great. Make sure to comment below what you think the spectrum of horror is or just overall thoughts on 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's our show, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Leave my house.
What are you guys still doing here?